Hey guys, so this week in LEGO Stars we got a ton of very cool news, some very big stuff which we'll remember for a while, and then a lot of really cool tidbits which are very important that a lot of people aren't talking about. There's a lot to get through, so I say we just get right into it, and obviously the biggest piece of news of the week is of course the UCS Razor Crest reveal. I won't spend too long on this because I'm sure if you're a LEGO Stars fan you will have seen this set by now. I mean, wow, does it look incredible. This will be retailing for $600 US, coming out just in a few days for VIP members and then October 8th for everybody else. 4 minifigures are included, being an epic version of the Mandalorian, the Child, Mithril, and Queel. Just a very, very cool set for Mandalorian fans overall, although it is very expensive. Some people this week was the official release of the LEGO Star Wars Advent Calendar for this year, because in some countries it was just randomly delayed until October. No reason why. I saw that this was apparent in Australia and New Zealand, but now of course it is available and in stores, I can confirm, so if anyone wants to get it now I would recommend it, though of course I'm sure some people will be waiting for December. A little 2022 update this week on the 501st Battle Pack, updating us that the 501st Heavy does in fact have a backpack. It's brick built and features a printed 1x1 tile and a little cloth piece. There is no shoulder bag though, so it's going to be pretty accurate to what you see here, just like probably a bracket piece and a 1x1 tile there with the Republic print, and then a very small cloth piece on top which is meant to be grey. I mean, that's very exciting for a lot of people who did want the backpacks. I personally don't mind as much as other people do, but I will say this is pretty good news for those people. Even if it's only on one figure in the set, it is still a step in the right direction. Now, a few days ago, LEGO held their AFOL event at the LEGO House, which revealed a few things. Now, all of the things I'll be talking about are coming from Solidbrick Studios' video. He will be posting an interview soon, but of course he did summarize all the points, and this is where all of the tidbits are coming from, of course just in a faster fashion here. Start with a few based around the UCS Razor Crest, and first of all we did get the confirmation that UCS plaques will be printed in the future. Now there's no timeline given, presumably at some point next year, but instead of the stickers which a lot of people hate, they will be printed on, which is great news. Now for larger tiles there is usually a weird molding mark in the center, so hopefully that's okay, but I do think it should be fine and overall will look better, and I also hope that they bring this into, say, the buildable droid sets, which also have a stickered plaque. It was also briefly brought up if they considered putting on chrome pieces for the Razor Crest, and they said it was very briefly considered, but they ruled it out very quickly because it would require at least 50 new elements in chrome, and one, they couldn't meet the quality standards because it's made out of a slightly different material, or at least has a slightly different material in it, and of course that it would bump up the price so much, which is what a lot of people theorized, and they were correct by. One of the biggest things that was revealed was in regards to minifigure polybags, kinda specifically May 4th promos, but more just minifig polybags as a whole, and they were asked if they could ever return, to which they kinda gave a vague answer of just yes, which they did actually reveal that they can do them, which is actually pretty exciting. Now they can do them, it seems, because before they couldn't, but it seems like now, because of their new contract extension, something was changed, and that is physically possible for them now. They did also reveal that it's not entirely up to them, it's up to some other people. They have a small say in the matter of that though. A few questions asked about the ATT, specifically about the 212 troopers especially. First of all, the helmet holes were brought up, to which they did of course ask why there are the two sections of that molded one and then the actual holes. It sounds like they did try one without the molded holes and it simply looked off, the proportions were way more off there, so they decided just to put the helmet holes where they are. Basically it just looks better that way from their testing. That makes a lot of sense because otherwise the proportions would be really off compared to that, so I can understand their decision making there. It was also brought up about the apparent printing issue with the arrows on the helmet not actually appearing like they should. Basically they said the mistake was intentional and they do not plan on fixing it, and also something about printing limitations. However, evidence does suggest otherwise because of course in 2014 they could do the arrows, so it doesn't make too much sense here with that argument, but I guess through their testing it could have made sense. I don't know, this one seems a bit fishy though. Final one to do with the 212 troopers was about the 2020 style in general with the 501st troopers, and it was kind of brought up will they do a realistic style, to which they said no, this is going to be the one that is going to be staying throughout Revenge of the Sith ones and Clone Wars ones, because they want a consistent style between all clone troopers so it's not confusing for people. This makes a lot of sense. They brought up, of course, when like 2014 stuff, when they had the animated style and the realistic style. They want to stay away from that and keep this united style, which I am actually all for. I just love the kind of consistency they have with this. There was one more thing with the ATT about the crab droid, where they were asked why there was a dwarf spider droid, not a crab droid. They simply said that they didn't even consider a crab droid, which I think is kind of weird, but they did apply some interest in there to doing a crab droid in the future. Maybe they have one planned for a 212 battle pack, we'll have to wait and see, but they did express interest in it. I was asked about the Obi-Wan vs Darth Vader set, which a lot of people didn't like. Basically, why did they do it based off this instead of the episode 6 duel? And they simply said that Lucasfilm gave them nothing. That's what a lot of people predicted the answer would be, so that makes a lot of sense. There was also some apparent questions asked regarding why certain price points were chosen, but there is no public answer on that as of yet. Designers were also asked whether or not the Kaminoan was considered for the Justifier, to which they said yeah, they did consider it for a little bit, decided not to though. And then when they were asked if they were going to do more Kaminoan figures in the future, they said, oh yeah, everything's on the table. A very vague response there, so basically they are technically open to it, but of course I wouldn't be expecting anything from that answer. That leads me on to the final tidbit that we have from this event, where a question was asked on whether or not TV show sets would be considered for MBS, because of course the Razor Crest is the first UCS set based on a TV show, and they simply said that they are open to anything, which, I mean, that's very exciting, but I guess that basically just means if it'll make us money, we'll do it in a vague sense. But that is of course exciting to hear that they would be open to considering that. That applies to things like Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Mandalorian, Clone Wars even. There's just a lot of cool stuff that can be done with that. That leads me on to a hopeful note on one of LEGO's Instagram posts about the ATT, which shouldn't be read too much into. It's not the LEGO designers, it's just LEGO's marketing team, but it got a few people excited and I just wanted to share what it read. Simply just reads, "You didn't think we'd forgotten about the Clone Wars, did you?" Simple sentence, was pretty nice to see, and no, I don't think it's a hint that we're going to be getting more Clone Wars sets in the future. I'm sure we will be getting more Clone Wars sets in the future, but this is not a hint to that. But it's just simply a nice little acknowledgement from the LEGO marketing team about how people want Clone Wars sets, which I think is really cool, that at least some people at LEGO are noticing. Really, the main thing I've taken away from this LEGO media thing is that LEGO now knows some of the things that we want, which I think is really cool, that LEGO did get to listen to what the fans want. But yeah, that brings us on to next week. Am I expecting much? Obviously, we will have the UCS Razor Crest officially released to the public. Also applies to both VIP members on the 3rd and then everybody else on the 8th. Those will both be happening next week. Other than that, I don't know, there's usually something. It's October now, so we're getting kinda close to the end of the year, meaning we could technically be getting official images soon. I expect those in November. But of course, some point this month we could get them kind of spread out like we did for the summer wave. So just keep that in mind going forwards, that technically any time from now we could be getting official images, though I don't expect them for at least a few more weeks. But yeah, that's been this week in LEGO Star Wars. I think it's been a pretty big week, obviously just a lot of small things, but it's made this episode very long. One of the longest I think for this week in LEGO Star Wars. Potentially it is the longest, I don't know. But yeah, thank you all for watching. If you are still here, I do really appreciate it, and please let me know your thoughts down below. There's a lot to let me know your thoughts on down below, so please do. However, yeah, that'll be all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe. That'll be all, folks. Goodbye.